On the afternoon of January 24, 2023, Lindsay Clancy sent her husband photographs of their children. There was a snowman, there were crafts, there were ordinary moments from an ordinary winter afternoon. Within hours, 3 children were dead. Their mother had gone through a second-story window and was found badly injured outside the family home. More than 3 years later, a jury in Massachusetts is being asked to explain how those 2 versions of the same day can exist. The prosecution says Lindsay Clancy deliberately killed her children after getting her husband out of the house. The defense does not dispute that she killed them. Instead, it says something far more difficult: that she was suffering from severe mental illness, including postpartum psychosis, and was not criminally responsible for what she did. At the center of the trial is not simply what happened, it is what was happening inside her mind when it happened. And that question begins months before the basement, before the window, and before the final 54 minutes of her children's lives. Lindsay Clancy was a labor and delivery nurse at Massachusetts General Hospital. She was married to Patrick Clancy, and together they had 3 children: Cora, Dawson, and Callan. After Callan was born in May of 2022, Lindsay's mental health began to deteriorate. She reported severe anxiety, insomnia, feeling overwhelmed, and problems with concentration and motivation. By September, she had entered psychiatric treatment. What followed was a long and increasingly complicated search for something that would make her feel better. Different providers treated her for anxiety, depression, and sleep problems. Different medications were prescribed. At various points, bipolar disorder was considered. The defense now argues that these changes were signs of an illness that was never properly recognized. The prosecution points to something else. The psychiatrists who treated Lindsay before the killings testified that she did not tell them she was hearing voices or planning to harm her children. At the beginning of January, Lindsay checked herself into McLean Hospital for several days. There, she reported suicidal thoughts, but told doctors she did not currently intend to kill herself or anyone else. She was discharged and continued outpatient treatment. Then came January 23rd. One day before the killings, Lindsay met virtually with psychiatrist Jennifer Tufts. Tufts testified that Lindsay appeared depressed and anxious, but did not tell her she was planning to hurt herself or her children. The appointment ended. Less than 24 hours later, everything changed. On January 24th, Lindsay took Cora to a doctor's appointment. Later that day, she sent Patrick photographs of the children. Nothing in those images revealed what was coming. Then, sometime that afternoon, prosecutors say Lindsay began making preparations. The prosecution has pointed to searches and errands as evidence that she was creating time alone in the house. It argues that she asked Patrick to leave to pick up medication and food, giving her an opportunity to attack the children. The defense gives the same period a completely different meaning. It says Lindsay was experiencing a psychiatric crisis and believed she was hearing a voice telling her to kill her children and then herself. Around 5:33, Patrick called Lindsay from the pharmacy. The call lasted only 14 seconds. He later testified that she sounded quiet, but normal. Sometime after that call, prosecutors say Lindsay strangled the 3 children with exercise bands in the basement. Cora was 5. Dawson was 3. Callan was 8 months old. Lindsay then cut herself and jumped from a second-story window. Patrick returned home shortly after 6. He found the bedroom door locked, blood inside the house, and Lindsay injured outside. She told him she had tried to kill herself. Minutes later, he found the children in the basement and called 911. Cora and Dawson died that night. Callan died 3 days later. The facts of those final minutes are horrifyingly clear. What remains disputed is what was happening inside Lindsay's mind as they unfolded. The trial has now moved into the question that may determine everything. Was Lindsay Clancy experiencing a severe psychiatric illness, that destroyed her ability to understand or control what she was doing? Or was she suffering, but still capable of understanding the consequences of her actions? The defense says Lindsay developed bipolar disorder and postpartum psychosis. Its experts argue that her condition deteriorated despite months of seeking help. They point to her insomnia, anxiety, worsening symptoms, medication changes, and repeated attempts to obtain treatment. They also argue that some medications may have contributed to her deterioration. But the doctors who treated Lindsay before the killings described something different. Jennifer Tufts testified that she diagnosed generalized anxiety disorder and an adjustment disorder with depressed mood. She said Lindsay never reported hearing voices, manic episodes, or thoughts of harming her children. A psychiatrist who treated Lindsay during her stay at McLean Hospital also testified that Lindsay denied wanting to hurt anyone else. And this is where the case becomes more complicated. The defense is not arguing that Lindsay never showed signs of distress. The records show that she did. The argument is about what those signs meant. Were they symptoms of a deeper disorder that the doctors failed to recognize? Or were they symptoms of serious anxiety and depression without the psychosis the defense now says was present? The jury has to decide which interpretation is supported by the evidence. Massachusetts law does not simply ask whether a defendant was mentally ill. It asks whether a mental disease or defect left that person without substantial capacity either to appreciate the criminality or wrongfulness of the conduct, or to conform their conduct to the requirements of the law. And the defendant does not have to prove this alone. The Commonwealth carries the burden of proving criminal responsibility beyond a reasonable doubt. That makes the courtroom battle very different from a simple question of diagnosis. A person can be depressed and still be criminally responsible. A person can suffer from a serious psychiatric disorder and still be criminally responsible. The question is what that illness did to Lindsay's ability to understand or control her actions at the precise time the children were killed. The prosecution points to the sequence of events. It argues that Lindsay got Patrick out of the house, carried out the killings, and then attempted suicide. It says those actions show planning and awareness. The defense points to another sequence: months of worsening symptoms, repeated attempts to get help, a psychiatric hospitalization, multiple medications, and ultimately, a woman who the defense says had lost contact with reality. The same evidence can look very different depending on which question you ask. Was this preparation? Or was it behavior during a psychotic crisis? Was her calm appearance evidence that she understood what was happening? Or was it simply the outside appearance of someone whose internal reality had already changed? Those are not questions a medical record can answer by itself. They are the questions the jury must answer. That is what makes the Lindsay Clancy case larger than a single criminal trial. It forces a collision between two systems that do not always speak the same language. Medicine asks what happened to a person's mind. The law asks what that condition means for responsibility. And between those two questions is a family that cannot be restored. Cora, Dawson, and Callan are dead. Lindsay survived her suicide attempt, but remains paralyzed from the waist down. The trial continues to examine the months before that afternoon. The symptoms, the doctors, the medications, the hospital stay, the warnings, and the decisions that were made. But one question remains at the center. Could anyone have understood what was coming before it happened? The evidence does not give us a simple answer. It gives us a woman who repeatedly sought treatment, doctors who say they did not see the psychosis the defense now describes, a defense that says the illness was there but misunderstood, and a prosecution that says the evidence shows deliberate action rather than a loss of control. 3 children died in a house where, only hours earlier, photographs of a snowman had been taken. Between those two images sits the question this trial is trying to close. Not simply what Lindsay Clancy did, but whether the mind behind those actions still understood the world in the same way everyone else did. The verdict may end the trial. It may not end the question. What do you believe was happening in Lindsay Clancy's mind that afternoon? Share your verdict in the comments and subscribe to follow the trial as it unfolds.